my eye. Through the mist, my surprise shone light from distant northern skies. At that point, I realized I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play.
Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, interviews with awakened masters as they share their quantum work with you. The Quantum Guide Show is produced by Karen Holton, creator of the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation, a free 9-step online course to give you the tips and resources you need to thrive. Karen lost and continues to keep off 178 pounds of surplus body weight as she made her dreams come true. Whether you are awakening to the ascension process or simply want a wiser, more efficient lifestyle, this program is for you. No strings attached. The Quantum Guide Show is brought to you in part by Zendome's Orgonite, Karen's unique brand of orgone generators, ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. Find out how orgone generators work and what they can do for you. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out Karen's current selection, only available from her website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Quantum Health Transformation. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. I am pleased to have returning special guests today on the show, Berit Stover and Beth Mund, co-authors of Living Beyond Fear, Sacred Letters from the Afterlife. This book is a collection of 21 profoundly sacred letters, which provide the energy and divine guidance for living life more fully and abundantly. The content of this book was streamed to them telepathically from souls of loved ones and strangers, all sharing how to live beyond fear in love and joy. Their second book is due out later this year. It's called Animal Speaks. Beth Mund is an animal communicator, and this is an extraordinary book of conversations with animals, wild and pets, sharing their personalities, wisdom, love, and healing perspective. Beth translates these animals' messages, giving voice as never before. But before we get started with the show, here's a little bit of background on both guests. Beth Mund is an intuitive healer, empath, and animal communicator. She holds a master's degree in psychology from Nova Southeastern University and a bachelor degree in psychology from George Washington University. She is a certified wellness coach and a freelance writer. Beth has been communicating with the other side since the age of 5. Her ability to ground the messages from spirit has helped people overcome fears, past traumas, and barriers that separate them from their divine self. Her intuitive healing work with both humans and animals has resulted in extraordinary life changes. Berit Stover is a psychic medium. She's got a BA in International Relations from Mount Holyoke College and worked extensively in international transportation logistics industry. She has served on multiple boards for international and local nonprofit organizations. Beth Stover is a messenger, connecting with loved ones and angels from the spiritual realm. Her gifts include accessing both past and future life experiences. After being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, Berit had an out-of-body experience which opened her further to insights around the mind, body, spirit connection. Now Beth and Berit work together as your soul guides. Whether you're looking for more love, peace, money, joy, health, or job satisfaction, your beliefs and unconscious patterns are what is blocking you. Discover what patterns are holding you back from abundance and purpose in life. Beth and Berit have been working with their own spirit teams to bring forward profound insights to help you identify your patterns and heal what is blocking you from living with greater love and abundance. Berit and Beth, welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. How are you?
Oh, thank you for having us back, Karen. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Karen. We're wonderful.
Oh, good. So today we're going to talk about soul patterns. I'm really excited about your work. And let's start off by my asking, what are soul codes? And how does this relate to the patterns and discovering one's soul purpose?
We're excited to share that with you. Beth and I work in tandem, as you said, Karen, so beautifully. We connect with the other side. We connect with our soul team on the other side. And they've been sharing so much with us around soul patterns, soul codes, helping us to awaken, empower, heal, and connect, and helping us to unblock things that are blocking that abundance that you spoke to, that are blocking the flow and blocking our connection with divinity. So what are soul patterns? We know that our souls are eternal. They're so full of love. They're so full of guidance. And we come here, when we incarnate, we come with almost like a roadmap or a blueprint. We don't remember it when we come, but we have one of things that we were hoping to learn, hoping to connect to before we incarnated. So it's within us. We all have that within us. And that's what we call our soul pattern, our soul codes. But our patterns are also things that are repeating itself. It could be things that have been repeating in past lives that have carried into this life, or things that are repeating in this life that are getting our attention to focus on something that needs clearing, something that is a behavior or an experience or a trauma, something that's blocking us, an emotion that needs to be cleared, a pattern that needs to be addressed so that we can clear it and that we can open ourselves up to really the essence and the truth of who we are. And so it's those codes. Everyone has them. We're all different. So we don't want to look at the next person because our own roadmap and blueprint is just specific to us based on our own soul journey and soul growth. And in really, our soul guides have been speaking to us, and we're working with people through our readings to help them to become observant and to get feedback to help unblock those and then really open up to what they're here to do. What is their soul purpose? It really leads that map to our soul purpose.
Wonderful and really well put. Now, I'm just wondering, how do unconscious patterns block your energy flow and your abundance? Beth, what do you have to say to that?
Sure. So as Berit said, we all have those unconscious patterns, and they get in the way of expressing our emotions. Really, our emotions are the largest block that we have to lead us to our soul purpose. So lots of things happen in life, just living in the physical world. Many of us have traumas. It's traumatic, often just living our lives. We have experiences that repress emotions. We have relationships. Those things are what is blocking us, and then our emotions get repressed, and then that blocks us in many ways. It leads to dis-ease in the body. It leads to us feeling stuck in our life. It leads to us being confused, not knowing what we're to do, or being in a job or being in a situation that's not right for us. So the first step in doing that is to become aware. We have to start observing ourselves and say, what is our patterns? How do I process my emotions? Processing emotions is what I do most with people when I do my sessions, because it is really the key to what's blocking us. It's the key. So we become aware of ourselves. We see how we react in situations, how we feel in situations, how we handle it. What do we do? Do we express our emotions or do we repress it? And so those are the emotions are what gets in the way most. And then we have tools on what to do going forward and how to express our emotions. Many of us are caught in our head. We have those ruminating thoughts that go round and round. And these are all things we can uncover once we start observing ourselves. And they're all connected. Our mind, our body, our spirit are all connected. So we can get lost in our head, we can repress our emotions, or we can feel disconnected. And then once we start healing, we start the ball rolling where we start connecting with all of it. And we realize that our thoughts can create our feelings can create our connection. So we heal everything at once, really. From the work that I do, it's not just one area. So we heal everything at once, and we start to free ourselves from our traumas. We free ourselves from these unconscious patterns so that we can make choices that are in line with our soul purpose. And that's where our soul codes bring us back to, where we remember why we're here.
It sounds to me too like you're also talking about people learning emotional literacy, because a lot of people don't even know what they feel, and what they're feeling is so big and feels so complicated. They're just going to shut that down and not go there. So yeah. I know emotional literacy is also really important. I'm really glad you're doing this kind of work because. Sorry, go ahead.
Most people don't. We haven't been taught. Most of us have parents that don't know. We were all raised by people that don't know, and it's not about blame. It's just about naming it. Most of us just don't know how to process our emotions, and what the repression of our emotions is, how it's affecting our life. So you're absolutely right.
Thank you. So that sort of leads into the next question of how can you identify your behaviors and your mindsets that form the patterns in this life and across lifetimes in order to release these blocks. And I guess what I'm also wondering is it's sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see it. So that's the other part of this question I wanted to ask you. So how can you identify your behaviors and identify those mindsets?
Yeah, a wonderful question. It's not about perfection. You're absolutely right. Once we become aware of our patterns, then we try to stay aware, stay awake. So when we're in a situation where, that word of triggers, like somebody triggers us, so we get triggered and we start to become aware of what our reactions will be. So then the first time we say, oh, wow, look at that reaction. I really need to take a step back and see what that pattern is. Next time I will do better. So the next time maybe we react a little bit later, maybe we take a breath or two. And eventually we break that pattern, but it takes time and it takes compassion with ourselves and it takes patience, because these patterns have been built up over a long period of time. And so once, you're absolutely right, once we are in the middle of it, we say, oh, that is the key though. It doesn't matter if it's in the beginning, in the middle, or later on. It's just seeing the progress of us waking up from these patterns. And it's really just about us. We all have that observer part of us, and it's just about that observer noticing our behaviors and noticing when we get riled up, when we want to react instead of respond. And it's about taking a breath, calming ourselves down, whether it's on social media or whether it's with a loved one, or it doesn't matter. It's all the same process. It's just taking the time to breathe and having patience with ourselves and knowing that, okay, next time I'll catch it a little sooner. And then we do. And that's how we see the progress. And eventually we break those patterns.
I have found that's true for me. I always get what I assume is like an echo. So if I recognize a bad behavior of my own, and it's always really shocking in the beginning because it's like we're the last ones to see it, right? But I finally see it. But I find there's a bit of an echo or an energy that's been built up, and it's almost like a reverse spiral where it's got to wind its way back down. And so some of my challenges take quite a bit of effort over a period of time. But one day you just kind of something happens and you go, whoa, I really like the way I reacted to that. That feels good. I'm going to, and then you're onto the new way. So I'm not trying to make this about my experience. I'm just trying to tell you how I'm understanding a bit about what you're talking about. So yeah, and perfection. Wow, what does that even mean, right? But having compassion for the self. Yeah, really, really, really important.
Yeah, because the change process is not about just going forward, straight forward. It's about going forward and then taking some steps back, and moving forward and taking some steps back. And that's how we learn. That's how, as human beings, we learn. And, and that's how we look at our behavior and say, wow, what happened? I was just doing so great. And now I've gone back to the old pattern. And it's this road that we've created it, in our life and in our mind over and over and over. So it takes weeding, it takes time to break free of that. You're absolutely right. And then all of a sudden we can turn around and look back and go, oh, cool. Like, I didn't do that this time. You can look how far you've come at the same time. So you're right. That compassion for ourselves is really important. So we don't get frustrated and we don't give up and say, this is never going to work. I'll never be able to do this.
And then I also find along the way, I have to consciously remove distractions to make room for self-analysis. And, and sometimes I just want to binge watch on Netflix because I just want to make the whole world go away. But then you go, okay, I got to get back to my work again. So I'm curious, how can you heal your patterns so that you can move to greater abundance? Because I know that even for myself, I look back at my life and I look at times where I didn't have abundance, and clearly now from my vantage point, I was creating that environment for myself over and over again. So what can people do to heal those patterns and to have more abundance in their life?
I'll answer that.
Sure.
So it's exactly the process we've been talking about, but along with those repressed emotions, we have false beliefs. And it's those false beliefs that we have challenged. And we have false beliefs around abundance. To me, is abundance with everything. It's not just money, although many people do think of it as money, but it's abundance in love. It's abundance in our relationships. It's abundance in our work. So it's self-love, an abundance of self-love. So we have false beliefs because of our conditioning, and our conditioning happened in the early years of our life. So it's about challenging those false beliefs. Like, I'll just give you a very simple example, which many people probably have heard before. As far as money goes, that many of us have false beliefs around money. And I was working with someone on our Zoom call. We were talking about this. We do a free Zoom call on Wednesday nights. And somebody had said, well, for me, money, I always thought that all wealthy people were snotty or were snobs. And so it sounds so silly and simple, but that really kept her from reaching an abundance with money, because she was associating money with someone who's unkind, and ungiving and greedy. And so it's about reaching the abundance, is about challenging those beliefs. And Berit will talk about this after, about knowing what all the possibilities are out there. So our false beliefs keep us, one, tied to old conditioning, and that prevents us from opening up to all those possibilities of how we're going to come into abundance. How is it going to show up for us? Because what we're doing is we're blowing open our conditioning, our patterns, so those possibilities can come to us. So it's really, Berit and I always talk about this, a two-step process. It's about challenging those beliefs that we've been conditioned for, and then really opening up to what is possible.
Now, I'm of the belief that everything is all there. It's just what I see, what I recognize. So, for instance, opportunities to be more abundant, I didn't see them before. I'm seeing more now. Would you agree that it's all there? It's just what we're programmed to pick up? And again, as you had mentioned, Beth, your belief systems. Or do you think that really that there is a big scarcity? I don't actually think there is, but I didn't want to.
No, the universe is abundant. We know the universe is so abundant. It's so loving, and it's all for us to access, each in our own way based on our journey. But I kind of think of it as if you're driving down the road and you've got your headlights on, and when you have it on low lights, you only see this much. But when you expand your consciousness, when you expand all that can be possible, it's almost like you're turning up your light, because we're all light within inside. So when we turn up our beams, our light, it expands and we see all that was there. Now that road was the same all of that was there. It's just what you see with your light, what you see with your what you see with your consciousness, with your mind of what you're going into. But when you expand that, you're absolutely right, Karen. You can see, and there's so much to tap into. There's so much out there. So how do you kind of get there? How do you get to that abundance? Well, first, and you both have said, you love yourself fully. You just, no matter what, you give yourself love. You love yourself every which way upside down, but love yourself fully. And then go in with kind of curiosity, go in about your day and just sort of see what are the clues, what songs are popping on the radio or what people are passing or what someone's saying, because we're always getting clues. And sometimes it seems like a coincidence, right? When something happens, oh, how could that be? I was just thinking about that and it happened. Nothing, as we know, Karen, is a coincidence. And that is sometimes to tell you, yes, you're right. Pay attention. It's a clue, So when we pay attention to coincidences, when we are tapping in, we're really tapping into that invisible field. Beth and I do so much work with people, and it's to expand that consciousness to see that, yes, we have a visible world that we live in, but next to it is an invisible world that is just extraordinary. And that's where the abundance, that's where the possibilities are. They are side by side. They're all for our access, all for our tapping into. And when you go in with curiosity, with wonder, with gratitude, go in with gratitude that you already have the abundance, whatever you're seeking, go in with that mindset. And it helps to bring those headlights again up so that it's shining the light, and then eventually you're going to see it. You're going to bring it into your field, and you're going to actually experience that. So it's really living with the sense that, yes, you are loved, you're worthy, and all of it is possible. This is your life. This is your soul journey. So it all is being given with such love to you, and there's no lack. There's no lack at all. It's only in our minds and our conditioning and our belief system that we think that, if someone else has it, we can't. And that's totally not right.
I agree. It's our brainwashing. Even the planet itself provides, people who have certain ailments will often find the plant that they could be using for medicine grows right there for them. And they did, but they don't realize it because they were taught those are weeds. When I found out the magic of wild plants, it blew me away as I watched people lined up at the food bank for canned soup and macaroni, when all these fields are full of medicine and nutrition and everything, but nobody knows about it. So I'm not saying it's exactly the same thing, but it's a similar thing that I agree that the universe is very abundant and provides everything we need. But if we don't, it's funny how the mind works. When we don't believe something is possible, we literally don't see it, even though it's obvious to others. So I'm just really excited about what you're doing with helping people to recognize those patterns. So let's segue that into a little bit about how people can uncover their own intuitive gifts that guide them so that they are actually achieving their soul purpose.
Well, I think it's really what Beth was talking about first. So we were talking about how we both kind of work tag team. So a lot of what Beth is doing is helping people uncover what is blocking, what is the original wound. So when we get there, we first uncover what is the original wound, and it brings up all the different emotions. She, clearing the grief or the shame or anger, but anger can be empowering too. And then it's also going into a sense of a stillness to uncover your intuitive gifts. When you go into stillness, you're reconnecting with what's inside, and you're remembering, like, what was it that really connected me? I sometimes feel like so much of when we go back to our childhood, what was it that just brought us such joy? Where did we feel connected? How did it resonate with us? Are we more visual, or are we more hearing things or doing things, writing, but find that pathway of how you connected. And that's going to help to inform what are your intuitive gifts, because they're all there. It's just rediscovering them and re-uncovering them. And then just cast that net wide, dream big. When we're kids, we have such an imagination and we dream, and when we're kids, like anything is possible. That's our life, right? As we get older, we get all this other baggage and conditioning and identity that starts to limit us. And it really starts to kind of put the, kind of wall us in with our dreams. So just bust that open, dream, cast that out there. And in doing so, you're going to tap into your gifts. You're going to tap into your purpose. You're going to tap into a new life and a new reality. And what comes from it is new possibilities that you could hardly have imagined, but are all there, just waiting to be explored and experienced.
Wonderful. What would you say to people that are afraid of emotions? Because there's many of us who were taught that certain emotions were bad. Certain emotions will get you into trouble. Certain emotions will certainly be inappropriate for you if you're a woman. What would you say to people who are actually afraid of what we might want to call opening that can of worms or opening Pandora's box? What would you say to those kind of people?
That's a wonderful question. Especially as women, not only women, but as women especially, we have been taught to fear anger, that anger is not a good emotion, that we're not good for feeling it. And all of us, men and women, anger has been modeled very poorly for us. We either have passive aggressive means that people are dealing with anger, or aggressive means, and we have no idea how to process that. And so those shadow feelings, those difficult emotions, as Berit said, anger and grief and shame, really it's about, one, allowing ourselves to have them. I worked with a woman who had done so much work, and she just could not feel connected with the relationship she was having. And I immediately received information about anger for her. And I just gave her permission to feel it by naming it. And she felt it, and she felt a shift within a day. And it's really about, one, allowing ourselves to have the feelings. God gave us these feelings for a reason. And if we allow ourselves to feel them, they pass through us. Yes, there are ways that we can release our anger, and we should do it productively. But allowing ourselves to feel it by first naming it, saying, it's okay, I feel angry, expressing it in a way that's safe with ourselves, with in a journal, with another person. To vent is a wonderful thing. To not lash out. It's when we lash out that other people can get hurt, or when we repress it, that other people can get hurt. So that's the irony, that repressing it actually does the opposite. It winds up hurting us and other people. So allowing ourselves to feel those feelings, especially anger, as we've talked about, anger is so empowering. Anger lets us know that someone has transgressed across our boundaries, or that we've transgressed across our own boundaries. Anger is so empowering for us, and it's just a beautiful emotion. And I've come into my anger beautifully, and not without struggle, because you have that pattern. But it's about remembering that it's that I'm safe to feel anger, that it's okay to feel it. And even the grief and the shame, those feelings as well. Grieving is such a natural part of life. We grieve, so much of us have grieved through this pandemic we've been involved in, and through old traumas, through just living is grieving, it's a birth and death every day as we move to different parts of our life, that we leave things behind. Allowing ourselves to grieve, allowing it to be there. And then any shame that's been put upon us, or that we've taken on, which is the hardest emotion sometimes to feel. It's about feeling unworthy. Just doesn't feel good. We don't like it. We want to get rid of it. So it's about, it's allowing ourselves to feel it all, and allowing it to stay as long as it wants, to not, we so often rush through life in order to avoid it, or we stall in order to avoid it. And once we do, and once we allow ourselves to feel it, we say, wow, you know what? It wasn't as bad as all that resistance or all that distraction or all that addiction or whatever I did. It wasn't as bad. I've heard that so many times. It's just, we just don't know. We just don't know what to do. And once we find that out, it can flow through all of us.
Really well said. I always view anger as a positive emotion, because for me, it's rocket fuel. And, I've got lots of things to be really angry about. And what I do is I've become very solution oriented, and it's my rocket fuel. It's amazing how much power it gives me when I use it appropriately. And half the battle just seems to be the choice. I'm going to use it appropriately. I'm going to use this to fix my life. I'm going to use this to learn. And then everything shifts and becomes really, really different. And I just want to go on to the next question. How can you create more joy, connection, and abundance in your life? Berit, maybe you could take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So to know that you're worthy, that you're worthy to have joy, connection, and abundance in your life, that actually is your birthright. And it's for everyone. There's an abundance of it waiting to be received by everybody. So how do you get there? So you ask. They're always saying, when Beth and I are connecting with the other side, you don't ask enough. No one asks enough, and no one asks big enough. And we kind of think, oh my gosh, like we can't imagine it. How are we going to imagine how big we're supposed to be asking? But is to ask, and you will receive. With every ask, we'll receive. But the thing we have to remember is that we're going to receive it maybe differently of how we think we're to receive it. So to put out the ask and to be open and to receive it and to be filled with gratitude, to know already once you put out the ask, to just be filled with gratitude that it will be answered. You will be cared for. You will be guided. You will be shown. A lot of the work that Beth and I do is Beth does a lot of the clearing. I do a lot of tapping into soul teams. Everyone has a soul team. They're absolutely amazing. I'm just stunned with who is on people's soul teams. Each person has just beautiful soul teams. It is just not just soul guides and angels, but we're finding, I was doing a reading for a gentleman, and he had a color on his soul team. There's animals. So each person has a soul team that is championing them, that's loving them, that's helping them to get to that joy, to get to that abundance, to open their heart, to open them up to just really remembering. We came here knowing, but we forgot. When we incarnated, we don't remember. We feel this we feel this separation. We feel this, that we're just us, and then there's that, everything around us that's separate. So it's really helping us to go with the ask, to go knowing that we're loved, to go knowing that we're worthy. It helps just reconnect us with the universe. And then, as Beth said, everything starts to flow again. It opens us up, our hearts open, and it just flows. And we know when we are in that joy, there's a sense of peace. We feel like we're aligned. We feel like we are where we're supposed to be on our path. And then other things continue to unfold for each of us, because we each have an extraordinary path. Everyone has an extraordinary soul, an extraordinary path, and an extraordinary team. We're just amazed with all the love, and to take that love in, because that is, you're worthy and you're entitled to every bit of that love.
I actually am in touch with my soul team, and the feedback that I get from them is that I don't ask enough. There seems to be some kind of a protocol where this is our realm, and we can bring into it what we want. And so we actually need to ask in order to have it have the help come in. And so what happens, at least for me, especially if I get a little anxious or stressed, I forget all about asking for help. I think I got to do it all on my own. Well, that's a lot, to carry on your shoulders, right? And so, and the other thing too, is they tell me to, if I have any doubts, to ask for proof. ask for proof, ask for what I want, make it specific, make it big. And it's really hard for some reason to do that. I don't know why there's that resistance, but I just feel like it's our realm and we need to ask. We need to reach out and we need to ask, but the team is there whether we know it or not. So why not add your team as a, as I know this doesn't sound very nice, but as tools, right? That and resources that we can be a part of. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just, I think what you just shared was so beautiful. And I think 2 points that came up. Yeah, we need to ask big. I think when we come here, we think we do, like you said so beautifully, we think we have to go it alone. We feel like, there's such a focus on the human-centric individual self. So we think, okay, this is for us to figure out us. And so we really close ourselves off from that team, the resources, that invisible. And then the second point that you just reminded me of that is so important is, yes, the one thing that we are given is free will. So unless we ask, no one's going to cross over that. That's so sacred. So we do have to ask. And again, every ask is answered, but we do have to put out an ask. And it doesn't have to be so, it can be general. It doesn't have to be so, specific, but to put out that energy. We know that we're energy, and what we put out is going to be responded back in kind. And it's just beautiful. We're never left alone. We may feel alone, but we're never alone. And to just when we sit and go into stillness, we can feel that love. Or you sit by your animal. Your animals are so loving. They're unconditionally loving. So get that from your animals. Beth and I just did a program last night on Soul Talk, which we were talking about Wednesday nights, and we were speaking to nature. Nature too is so unconditionally loving. So wherever you are, if you're, in whatever ecosystem you're in, and to go out and to see the trees and the sky or the mountains or the desert, but to feel they're mirroring back this love, and they're encouraging us too. We go with wonder, we go with inspiration, and they're helping to lift us. All these things are helping to lift us, to open us, and to remember how extraordinary we each are, how extraordinary our soul is and our journey here.
And Karen, I just want to answer that second part where you're talking about proof, to ask for it. It's so normal to have doubts because we're living in the physical world. It's so normal for all of us. And even those of us who are connecting on a regular basis. I always, when I feel that way, I will always ask for a sign, because sometimes it's hard to get around our mind and get around our consciousness. So I always receive signs when I ask. I will ask I will say, what is the sign? I will let something come into my mind, and I know, and I can feel it when that's the right sign. And then I will wait, and it comes from all different places. It's come from my son. It's come from a friend. It comes from being out in the world, and I write it down, and then I say, give me a sign and make it obvious. And that's the part that you have to say. So you can't deny it when it happens. So you say, make it really obvious. So I think it's great to do it. And I think it's okay. And it just allows you to just have that little extra assurance, when our mind starts to doubt.
And it comes in different ways. I remember, Beth, your story about the blue jay. We think it's going to come as a blue jay.
Yeah, I had asked to see a blue jay because I've been connected with blue jays, and a couple of days went by and I didn't see any blue jays, and I felt a little dismayed. And then my husband said, come watch TV with me. And I don't really watch that much TV. I said, okay. And we sit down and he's watching baseball, which is really a snooze, I think, on TV. I don't mind going to the games, but on TV it's a little. So I sit there and I look up, and I'm, not feeling so good. I look up, and guess who's playing? It's the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays
are playing on the TV. So I was like, okay, I'll watch this. Like I perked up. I knew that was where my sign came in. So, and my son is always connecting me. He's so connected. He's always connecting me with signs. He's always giving me input. You have to ask, like we talked about, and then stay aware of how it's going to show up.
If it's okay, I wanted to share a really brief one because my guides seem to have a tremendous sense of humor about what they do too. And I can remember I was over in a shopping mall and I was in the washroom and I was starting to feel, what I would call spiritual dry. I go through spiritual dry periods, and generally it's because my guides say, you need to learn to do this on your own. You can do it, and then they come back later. But anyway, so I was asking for a sign and I felt a little silly asking for a sign, but I just said, can you give me a sign? It would really help. And I went to leave the mall and there was a man walking in the mall as I was leaving. And all of a sudden it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I just blurted out, "You're Johnny Cash." Well, now I know Johnny Cash is dead, so it wasn't Johnny Cash, but I said, "You're Johnny Cash." And he just stood there and he looked at me for a minute, reached in his pocket, took out a business card, handed it to me, and he was a Johnny Cash impersonator. Now, what are the chances of that? What are the chances of that? You couldn't make this stuff up. No. So yeah, I agree. Ask for signs and be open to them not looking the way you thought they would look. But boy, that was huge confirmation. And lately I haven't been asking for so many signs because I just know I'm loved and and I'm feeling so much better about everything. So let's just get a little bit into your work. So what is an intuitive healing? And how can this help people to release these patterns that are keeping them stuck? And of course, with the goal of receiving more abundance and joy.
Yeah, so I do intuitive healing sessions, and they're an hour long. And people come with different challenges that they want to work on. It could be a medical issue. I'm able to see connections between what their medical issue is and what their traumas have been and their repressed emotions are, and basically have an answer outside just treating the symptom or treating, whatever it is going on with them to get to the root of the problem. I help them get to the root of the problem. And I have also worked with people who are stuck in their careers or stuck in their life. And I can see where they're not tapping into their own power, their own emotions, where they're stuck in their minds. I help to release, and the healing happens during the session. It's about helping them name and process their emotions, and then the healing happens on another level. I begin healing myself and other people without realizing it. So as the reading and the sessions are happening, the healing's going on, but it's allowing them to be part of the healing so they can get to the root. And it's not, just let me heal you and then have something come back, in a year or 6 months because their patterns are still there. So as I spoke about in the beginning, it's about helping them to name their patterns that have led to emotional, physical, spiritual, any sort of body related issues. It's helping them to uncover, to name their patterns and to move past it. And I work with people across a number of sessions, depending on what their needs are. And yeah, that's the intuitive healing sessions. And we do other sessions, but that's the main one that we've been doing.
Wonderful. Excuse me. Yeah, I also know that when we heal on a spiritual level, it tends to filter down to the emotional and into the psychological and then into the physical body. Whereas if I see a specific practitioner for just body work, I don't seem to be able to actually connect higher up into the spiritual where for me, the healing has to happen first. But with the way you're doing it, you're addressing all aspects of the human being so that they can get the relief they need. Because we're raised into a world, I think, where we have problems because we're always looking for external sources, but the source of the healing is within, and that's what the guide, like yourselves, helps people to start doing their own healing. And as they have their ahas during the session and stuff, they're actually being healed. And how do you feel about this? When we heal, I'll give you an example. You know how many of our issues are multigenerational? when we heal, do you think we're healing the past and the future as well as the present, that we're helping our ancestors and that we're helping our future self or offspring or whatever be in a healthier place, would you say?
Yes, and I'm going to let Berit answer that, but what I want to address is that our body is so knowing. Our body is so it's made to heal, and these patterns find themselves in our bodies as well. So the patterns in our life relate to the patterns in our body and relate to the patterns in our emotions, and it's all connected, as you said. So it's tapping into it all at once and how it's all connecting each other, and yes, how it heals backwards and forwards. And I'll let Berit answer that.
Yeah, no, it's going back to the root of everything, which you're both speaking to. Yes, you're so right, Karen. So when we heal it, as Beth's saying, when we heal that pattern that is within us, it actually is working its way, healing in our past life, and it's actually healing in our healing forward. So it really, once it's healed, it resets everything. And brings us back into balance. As Beth was saying, our bodies are so loving, knowing they're always trying to come back into balance. They're always loving us. Our bodies are always loving us. They're trying to do right by us, so to speak. So, but it's being guided back into that balance. And when we do that, it does have it's mind-boggling to think of it, but it does happen. So it happens, and it happens even for, not just for your soul, but who you're touching, who you're interacting with, and your children, and so forth, forwards and backwards.
Wow, that's powerful. That is powerful, and that's what we need. That's really what we need. So I'm wondering, where can people find out more about you, Beth, and about you, Berit? Where can people go to find out more about your work? What's possible, just to learn more?
Yes, they can go to our website, which is, you'll put the link below, but it's yoursoulguides.com. I also do animal readings. I'm an animal communicator, and all the information is on there about that. And we have groups that we're going to be starting. I'm going to be starting an empath group, and Berit's going to be starting a grief group. And we have a free Soul Talk Zoom call on Wednesday nights, where we have all different topics. This month is about healing. Last month was about the pandemic. So all the information I know you're going to put below, but is on our website, that they can delve into what each of our sessions are about, what we do, what our backgrounds are. They can tap into that on our website, and we have, of course, our Facebook and Instagram, which you'll put the links below. Everybody has that.
I'm wondering if we could just switch over a little bit about your new upcoming book. What do you want to tell us about that? It sounds really intriguing.
It's absolutely profound. So Beth is an animal communicator, and she has been having conversations with all kinds of animals. I mean, some are pets, some are the wild, and they're bringing forward such profound insights, but they're also sharing their personalities. Every spider is not the same as the next spider, but the personalities are priceless, and they're lovable, and they're, they've all kinds of personalities, but their personalities are coming through as much as the messages. And this book is really to give voice to the voiceless, to give voice to the animals, for the animals to share really their soul, their spirit. They all have a purpose. They all have a reason, and they all have a connection with us, and to help us to hear their voices in each of the different chapters, and to understand the significance and that they're not lower than humans, right? I mean, that they're to be respected, to be loved, that they're loving us, that they're showing us and teaching us, and some are healers, some are teachers, but it's a remarkable book. Beth, I know you can speak more because you're the one speaking with the animals, but it is absolutely, we're so excited to have this come out later this year.
Yeah, the book, the connection that I do with the animals is a little bit different than when I'm doing straight animal communicating. Where I'm doing animal communicating, I receive all sorts of information. They tell me what's going on with them, why they're here, what their past has been, but also the family that they're living in, what their challenges are, and what what they've what their relationship is about. They'll tell me everything. What movies someone's watching, how they're all praying. They tell me their secrets. Like sometimes it's like little kids who come up and tell their family secrets about what's going on. So I learn everything from the animals. But in this book, I'm channeling from their soul, from their higher self, and the information has been incredible, and they've made themselves known to me. Sometimes I will be sitting outside thinking I'm going to be connecting with an animal, and another animal will come up and stand there and stare at me. I mean, I was in my living room once, and the squirrel came right up to my sliding glass window and put his face on the window and stared there, walked away and came back. And I've never in my life been that close to a squirrel that they stood still enough to do that. And so I connected with him, and he brought through amazing messages, and they tell me what their names are, and their names have purpose, and their roles, and it's just, they're all different, and they're all inspiring and healing. And it's incredible what they're doing and what their roles are and how they're helping us and helping our planet. That's a big one too. They're really helping our planet. So it's been an amazing, profound healing experience for me to connect. And I'm so excited to share it with everybody. They're excited.
I think it's really important too. Like, for instance, I was raised in a home where my parents didn't have any empathy for animals. They just thought that would be ridiculous because they don't feel the way we do, that kind of thing. And then I evolved to the point where I sort of saw our pets as being like, kind of like ornaments that you had to feed and let outside once in a while. Then it's interesting, when the going got rough for me is when I really had my eyes opened to how my pet, I've always pretty much had a cat, how my pet is way, way more than what I ever thought possible. And then I started realizing that the whole planet is alive and that we're all plugged in, the animals, us, everything, we're plugged into this huge living conscious thing. So anyway, getting back to the animals, then it started freaking me out when I realized how much like us, but even smarter and even more spiritual than us they are. And then it kind of blew my mind because, I didn't always treat I didn't always pay attention to the psychology of my pets. Do you know what I mean? Even the term my pet seems kind of a little bit, I don't know, weird. But anyway, long story short, so I have a cat now, and we're in a tight relationship. Now, of course, it's platonic, but besides that, it's in every way like a lesbian relationship. We're very close. We communicate all the time. She's got little fears and little insecurities, and she's smarter than me in lots of ways. And it just blows me away. So then I'm kind of going, wow. And yet we're taught that they don't have any emotions, that they don't have a psychology, that they don't. Meanwhile, they absolutely do. So I'm just so glad that you're doing this kind of work. I'm hoping it will open the eyes of a lot of people. And I totally get the personality thing. Like cats, you could think of cats as being one way and dogs being another. But the truth is, everyone has its own unique personality. And I've seen it even in the bug world. One day I was out on the back patio, and it was a hot summer day, and I left my teacup out there, and I came back, and there was 2 tribes of spiders that had marched up to the cup, and one half kind of was staking their claim, and the other half was staking their claim. It was just a big standoff. And I watched this thing, and I went, wow, just once your mind starts to open, it just totally, it's not only humbling, but it's just very profound. And then we can't go back to ignorance, which I wouldn't want to anyway. But so I'm really, really glad, because wow, in this social construct, what we're taught is real and what we're taught is not real kind of seems reversed, So what they say isn't real seems to be what is, and what they're trying to tell us is real. I don't really think it is anymore. So it's very interesting, this journey on planet Earth. It's so interesting. And I also kind of believe that when we're going through tough times is actually is opportunity time. So I'm wondering what you both have to say about, the conditions right now are pretty stressful for a lot of people, depending on where you live, but it's pretty stressful. It's as stressful to be a witness to what's going on in some other countries or even in your own as it is to experience it for yourself. What messages do you have for humankind right now to encourage people, or anything you want to say about that? Because now people are open. They're open to hearing something that they maybe weren't open to hearing before.
I think it's a very hopeful time. It's been the pandemic has hit everybody. I mean, it's an unprecedented event that has hit our world simultaneously. Everybody's been impacted. Nobody's not been impacted by it, and everyone's been impacted in different ways. But it's an opportunity to reconnect with one another. It's put an automatic pause button on the world, and it's given people an opportunity in some ways to go into stillness, to spend more time with themselves, with others, to get them to know themselves better, to know, what they cherish and really what they don't need to take into this new world that's coming. And I think it also speaks to the connection that you so beautifully spoke to about our connection with our universe, connection with Mother Earth. You were seeing during the pandemic too, so much being healed. It's a time of healing. And we're seeing that the earth and the waters and the air is improving, and some animals are coming back that we haven't seen. And so I think, yes, it is a challenging time, but it's an opportunity for healing, for reconnecting, for really identifying what is it that really was important to us when we were isolated or during this pandemic. What was it that we really, really missed? And it really goes back to our connection. It goes back to our connection with ourselves, with one another, with our earth.
And I just want to add, it goes back to what we originally started talking about with our patterns. It has given all of us an opportunity to get to know ourselves and to see what our patterns are, and to change them on a personal and on a global level. And it's an opportunity to slow down. It's an opportunity for change. And it's an opportunity to allow ourselves to get to know change, which has been so dramatic for all of us. And that what has that taught us, and how are we different, and how are we going to have this new normal, which I personally love. I don't want to go back to the old normal. It's the new normal is awareness. And what this pandemic did, and I've had my own dark night of the soul, I've had my own awakening, as I know other people have had. It was an awakening on a global level, and that awakening is what leads us to our healing and our connection. So we can look at it, as we said, with all the things that seem to be going wrong, or that we've lost, or we can feel the feelings that go along with that. It hasn't been easy. We don't want to pretend it's been a walk in the park. It's been difficult, but feel that anger, feel that grief on the loss of our routines and our freedom and people, and then allow ourselves to release it and release that control that we never had. And that's where all the freedom and the abundance and the joy is. So it will start to appear to everybody later on. And sometimes, when we've talked about this, when we're in the middle of it, we don't see it. It's the same thing with this pandemic. Once we come out and we have time goes by, we can see it a lot clearer.
Yes, I would agree. It's just never been a better time for going within and for tearing down old belief systems. And it's like doing a real spiritual cleanse at the same time. And of course, the old system had a lot of problems, and we don't know what the new one will hold. We don't know. It could be amazing. It depends on, the consciousness of all humanity, because we all share this space, spaces together. But I'm really glad you came back on the show. I would love to have you on again. How long until your new book comes out? I know that's a loaded question myself. Working on a book, it seems to be a lot longer.
Yeah, I would think by the summer that it would be out, but we're excited. Right? We're doing sort of the last call. Anyone else that is anxious to speak with Beth, and then but that should be out this summer shortly. But we're excited. People can again go on our website, and we'll definitely, with a big fanfare, announce the book. So it's yoursoulguides.com, and we'll keep you posted on that. And Karen, thank you so much. It's so beautiful, all the work that you do. Beth and I feel so honored to be back with you and with your audience. And there's so much love out there, and we are just so grateful to everyone for all that they're doing for so many.
Thank you. And it's just been pure pleasure to have you on again. And so please do, if I get caught up in what I'm doing, so please feel free to reach out to me and come back on the show, because this is such important work. It's such an important message. I'm of the belief that if one person can benefit or have a better life because of something I've said or done or presented, wow, it makes it all worthwhile. And, and we're all in this together. We're all doing our work differently, but it's all kind of going towards a common goal. And I appreciate having you both on so much, and we'll have to do it again. Any closing remarks before we say goodbye?
I just want to thank you and thank your audience for tuning in, and just to remember to have compassion, whether it's a difficult time in our world or difficult time in your life. Have compassion and patience with yourself, and just when you least expect it, like we talked about, that change is going to show up. It will show up, I promise. All your hard work will pay off.
And look for those possibilities. They're everywhere. So keep an eye out. Yeah.
I sure will. And I'm sure the viewers will too. So thank you again for coming on the show. We'll see you again, hopefully not as long this time. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. If you have any questions, feel free to approach the links that will be in the description below, and I'm sure that you will get well taken care of. Okay, everybody, until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to Karen's YouTube channel, click the like button, and share this show with your friends. Check out Karen's website at KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. All the links are available in the description box below. Until the next time, keep up the good work.
Splendor into endlessness puts all my inner strife to rest. For time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less, and the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul to do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. This is all an illusion, and I'm willing to play. okay. It's okay.